We want to do a round of intros then?
Yeah, hi to everyone, and thank you very much for coming to the webinar on the Research to Action Project Fellowship and Seed Grants. So today with you, we have myself, Lorenzo Guarcello. I'm the project manager of the R2A project and based at ILO in Geneva. And today talking from Geneva. And Kelly, let's introduce yourself.
Thanks, Lorenzo. I'm Kelly Gleason. I'm a data scientist working on the Research to Action team with Lorenzo and Lorraine, though I'm working from New York. So it's great to be here with you all. Lorraine?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Lorraine Wong. I am the research officer with ILO Fundamentals and IOM, the International Organization for Migration, Migrant Protection and Assistance Division. Very happy to be here with all of you today.
Great, so ready to begin then?
Kelly, give us some rule.
Great. Well, so welcome everyone. Glad that you could join, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night for you. We're glad you can make it to the Q&A session. This is the Research to Action project where we're talking about the fellowships and seed grants. And so once we received many responses, many questions, we decided it would be helpful to have this session so that we could deal with some of the questions people had. So to start things off, we wanted to give you some housekeeping rules. So as Lorraine said, the webinar will be recorded. So hopefully that's fine with everyone. When you have a question, please use the chat box and send them to the panelists and participants so that the other participants can see your questions as well in case they have the same questions. And then we're going to open the floor for questions the last 30 minutes. And so if you use the hand raise function, then we can go one by one and unmute your mics. We ask that we're going to cover a lot of the really general questions that people have had somewhat towards the end of the presentation. So so if you could hold off on the questions in the chat box until then, we might already be covering the questions that you've had. Otherwise, we'll deal, if you have any administrative sort of questions, maybe we can deal with that along the way, but we'll really be able to answer your questions at the end. Okay, so handing the mic over then.
Thank you, Kelly. Just to let you know how will be organized also the presentation of today, we thought it will be also important to go a little bit through on how to write the research proposal. Very basic, simple, but they can give you an idea of the structure of a research proposal. Just to introduce the project. So the project is within the R2A project. R2A stands for Research to Action, using knowledge to accelerate progress in fight against child labor and forced labor. It's based at the International Labour Organization in Geneva within the Fundamental Principle Right at Work branch in partnership with the International Organization for Migration and is supported by the US Department of Labor. The main objective of the project, what the project wants to reach, is to accelerate the use of research by policymakers and practitioners to fight or to study the issue of child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking around the world. Why this? I mean, we saw through the global estimate of child labor, the global estimates of forced labor, that there was, yes, a decrease, but during the last years, this decrease has slowed down. And with the SDG target approaching, there is the need to accelerate progress in reducing child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking. Through this project and the four intended outcomes, we would like to contribute to this by increasing access to evidence, facilitate the understanding of the available research and which are the knowledge gaps, so where we still need the research to help a policymaker to make informed response. Improve the capacity of researcher and engage researcher and promote new interest. These last two outcomes really relate with our seed grants and fellowship. With this, we would like to help researcher to have the possibility to carry out research if resources are not enough, even if we understand that the support is not a big support, and to promote also interest in studying the issue, and especially in promoting research that can really inform the policy making. Lorraine, let's introduce us to the fellowship and seed grants and its organization.
Yeah, so with this, let me tell you a little bit more about the RTA fellowships and seed grants. We will award 3 research fellowships of 18,000 USD each for 12 months. And we will also be awarding 10 seed grants projects of up to 10,000 USD each for 9 months. We are targeting someone with more research experience in the research fellowship than in the seed grant. So you can see that in the research fellowship, it is open to PhD degree holders, PhD students, master degrees holders with 5 years of relevant research and teaching experience. And the entire duration is 12 months. So we want to give them a bit more money and also more time to carry out the research. While for the seed grant, it targets someone with slightly less experience, and it is open to PhD degree holders, PhD students, and master students. It's important to also let you know that senior researchers are also eligible to apply for the seed grant if your student is in part of the team, because we want to encourage junior researchers and candidates from the Global South, female candidates, and underrepresented populations in the research community are very much encouraged to apply. Do not forget the deadline is on April 16th. So one of the major objectives of this webinar is that we also want to help you to increase the chance to be selected. So we thought there are 3 major criteria that we're really looking into. First, is very important that you can meet the eligibility criteria, but also for the purpose of linking from research to action is very important to develop research of direct relevance for policies relating to child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking. And of course, it's important to develop a well-structured research proposal. So now back to Lorenzo to tell you a bit more about developing a good research proposal.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. As you know, being a student and researcher, a key part of any application for funds or for studentship is the research proposal. And a well-structured research proposal helps really a lot to increase the chance to be selected, to get the award. And regardless whether you are a researcher, what kind of research methods or problem you are going to look, the proposal should be presented in a very clear way, especially to simplify the life of the reviewer, but also to make clear to the reviewer what is the problem, the issue that you want to study, how you want to address it, and how you will conduct the research. So keep in mind, whenever you write a proposal, you need to answer to the what, why, and how. So what? Define well and clearly your research problem. Why? You have to convince the reviewer or the general public that the research topic that you are proposing is worthy to be studied, and how the research will be conducted, which is the methodology that you will be applying to carry out the research. So these 3 have to be clearly stated in the research proposal. Look, you will see in each page on the top research proposal 3 to 5 pages. How we say, the less is more. Go straight to the point and be clear in what you say. So no need to have lengthy proposals. Going a little bit more in detail, how a proposal can be structured. Title. The title should already indicate the research question and the approach. We always say in the research community, you need to have a catchy title. A catchy title is this one. That really make clear the message of what you're going to study and how you will be studying the issue. Introduction, very important. It should state which is your research question. It should guide the reader about the scope of the research, which is the problem, what is known, what we don't know, what is the knowledge gap especially. And what can help you to establish where is the knowledge gap is the literature review. The literature review is the core of a research proposal, is the core of a paper, of a research. A literature review is an overview of the current knowledge, where you bring relevant theories, relevant methodologies applied to study the issue, and the gaps in the existing research. Your new research will going to fill in this gap. So clearly identifying what has been done, which are the gap, and how your research contribute to filling this gap is key in developing a research proposal. In fact, the literature review will help you to support the what and the why. What you will describe then? A section on the research design, which is the research approach that you're going to use. So you have to detail it. Explain how we will be conducted. Will you be doing a quantitative type of analysis or a qualitative analysis? Will you be using an original data collection, primary source or statistical data, secondary sources, journal articles, review, etc.? Which is the type of study you will be carrying out? Is a descriptive paper, correlational paper? Will you have some regression analysis? Or will be a causal experimental study? Will be an impact evaluation? So clear detail on this step. Describe the tools and procedure you will be using to analyze the data if you already have clear this. And discuss any potential obstacle or limitation. But knowing the subject you are going to study, but knowing the way you will go to study the subject, which will be the methodology you are going to apply, you already have an idea which are the potential obstacles and limitations. Emphasize which is the contribution of the paper in to the current literature. It will have practical implication or theoretical implication. Will your finding help to improve the process, to inform policy, make a case for a concrete change? Or the theoretical side, will your study help to strengthen the theory or a model or a methodology, or challenge the current assumption or create a basis for future research? Clearly state this. And to conclude, at the end, a complete reference that together with the literature review also give the idea on how much you know about the issue, how much you have investigated the issue. And this also will give an idea to the reviewer that your research idea is worthy to be funded, is interested, something that raises interest in the research community for people to read it. Other part of the research proposal important too. We have the work plan and the budget to conclude. The work plan can be presented in different ways. There is really not a standard way. What the work plan has to do is to list the activities. So what you are going to do in practical terms to reach your goal. Which are the steps? Literature review, data collection, data analysis, if it's something done at field level, are you going to do interview, etc. So list the activities. This will also help. Maybe it's the first things to do. First the work plan, then the proposal. It will help you to understand how to structure better the proposal. And include a time frame. How many days, how many months you are going to spend on each activity. Another way of presenting it is easy to understand also for those who are going to read, is the use of a Gantt chart. You list all the activities and then just get out the cells corresponding to the month or the days you're going to spend on it. So work plan is important, can help you in better describing, structuring the proposal, can help you to define the budget. According to the activities, you will have a certain type of expenditure. If it is, for example, you are going to the field to do some interview, number of interview is in another city, count how many days you will be staying this city, how many nights you will be sleeping in an hotel, which is the cost of the hotel. Are you going to a conference to present the paper? Is this in your plan? How much could cost the ticket for the plane, or if it's something closer of the train, etc. Include also your time. You will be devoting some time to the research, so this can be also included in a budget. Include a dissemination strategy. That's very important. You are producing a research, you can be sending it to a journal. A journal can take 1 year, 2 years before accepting a paper, or can be rejected. There are other ways, if you believe in your research, to be disseminated. So think to a dissemination strategy. It's not only a journal, but there are many ways. One of these is also through us. The selected candidates and the research that will be produced will be hosted by the RTA website. I will also try to get visibility, but we also need your help getting ideas. Which is, in your opinion, the best way to disseminate your research? Then, of course, there are things you should avoid. And now Kelly will introduce us to all these things you should avoid while writing a research proposal. Over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Yes, so thank you for that wonderful summation of what to do. So here are things that maybe you should try to avoid doing. Some things that I'm especially sure many of you that have been teaching or in the academic community for a while maybe have seen some of these things. So a common pitfall to avoid, the first thing, lack of clarity. So for example, in the proposal, the paragraphs are long or vague and are, running on. Do your best, especially in just 3 to 5 pages, to be concise, clear, and get straight to the point with your writing. Tell us what you want to do and how you're going to do it. Another common pitfall is having weak support. So you have an argument, but there's not a lot of justification or evidence behind what you're saying. So to avoid this, we suggest to provide a very thorough literature review to show that you really investigated this topic, to see what kinds of research is already out there. Now, we don't expect everyone to be absolute experts in child labor, forced labor, human trafficking. That's why we have these seed grants and fellowships, but just a demonstration that you have started to investigate the literature is fine. Another common pitfall is poor planning. So I mean, generally, just not having an idea or a sense of how long this is going to take and what the tools you need to achieve it, which I mean, I think Lorenzo laying out all of the steps to providing a good plan should be helpful to avoid this. Next slide, please. Thank you. More common pitfalls. So sometimes you'll see in research proposals that the concept or methodology aren't very well elaborated. They aren't clear or laid out. So we suggest to avoid this, really show clearly in sections, you know, this is how I want to investigate this thing. And so we can really review this easily and see exactly what your plan is. And see that you know sort of your main research question and what you're going to do. Another pitfall, some proposals are not very well structured or formatted. So, I mean, it's a simple way to avoid this. Follow these guidelines. Use our presentation and the laid out steps, and it should really help you structure and format a really nice proposal to see the what, where, and how of what you're doing. And then finally, the communication and dissemination plan isn't well thought out. Yeah, it's just to say, I mean, again, this is a short proposal that we're asking for. But yeah, having this budget and timeline is so important. So it's clear that this research will be able to be conducted and completed in the time frame given. So I think those are the main steps. So I think I'm handing to Lorraine now. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much for going through the do's and don'ts. And the next thing that I really want to mention is that we actually prepared an evaluation criteria document, which lists out the grid that would be used to evaluate your proposal by a scientific committee from different disciplines. And also, we laid out 8 priority research areas that we gathered from a global research agenda consultation. Of course, it's not limited to the priority research areas, but these are some ideas for you. Next slide, please. Yes, and now I just wanted to tell you how the next stages and steps is gonna go. So as you know, the deadline of the fellowship and seat grants will be on the 16th of April. We hope to have the eligibility check and the application assessment between April and May. And we hope to inform applicants in between May and June. And all the projects needs to start between June and July because all the seat grants and fellowships need to finish latest by July 2022. And actually, we already received about like 100 questions and even more from today. And we are very happy to understand that the fellowship and seat grants is interested by a lot of people. So we realized that most of the common questions are about eligibility and the proposal. So in the next few slides, I'm gonna spend some time to go through some of the common questions on eligibility and proposal. So when it comes to eligibility, so some of the questions are quite straightforward. You can see that it's just yes and no, and some answers are already listed out. But let me go through some of the longer answers. For example, who qualify as junior or senior researchers? So as you know, the grant aim to target people with not a lot of experience, and we also want to engage new interests. So junior researchers refers to students at PhD or master's level, and PhD degree holders at the start of their research careers. So for example, postdocs or maybe in the first year of assistant professorship. And they're engaged in advanced but not fully independent research, either in the academic, public, or private sector. While senior researchers are those with a lot more experience and they're able to supervise. And we say that we define them as those who can conduct independent research, or they lead a research team, or maybe they are, let's say, associate or full professor. And in terms of what are the criteria to define eligible university or research institutions, actually, any public or private research institutes, as in university, research institute, or center, they're eligible as long as the institutes conducts or publishes research. So this might also link to the third question. Can an NGO be considered as an eligible institution? So no, unless they publishes and conducts research. But also another thing is if the principal applicant is a student or a researcher affiliated with a university or research institution, that is fine. Now, the next question is about I'm about to graduate. Do I need to have a university affiliation for the full period of the fellowship and seat grant? We understand that this is a common question. It's already March and a lot of people are going to graduate soon. The most important thing for us is that if you're applying for the seat grant, by the time that you're applying, you're eligible, and that for the full period of the fellowship, you're supervised by a supervisor. That is fine. But the thing is, for the fellowship, you do need to have a university or research institution affiliation for the entire period of the award. So let me go to the next slide to talk about the proposal. So on the proposal, what are the 8 priority research areas? So I'm not going to go through them in detail right now, but please take a look at page 5 of the evaluation process and evaluation criteria document. Again, they are research areas that we gathered from the Global Research Agenda consultation. Any specific criteria for the budget? So we don't have specific criteria for the budget, but the awards are intended to support the research activities and dissemination. So you can budget in the time that it takes for you to conduct the research, but the most important thing is that it aligns with the activities listed in the work plan. Now, what constitutes as a proof of enrollment? So it can be a letter from your university or institute of affiliation. So for example, from your supervisor or department head with the university letterhead is fine, or it can be a generic document from HR. It's just important for us to understand that you are affiliated with a university or research institute and understand that you're gonna get support from an academic community. So next, let's look at some other questions that also arise. For example, we know that a lot of you are eligible for both the fellowship and seat grant, and you might want to apply for both, and that is fine. But because one is for 9 months and one is for 12 months, the level of commitment is different. So we hope that you will be submitting different proposals. When will I know the result and when am I expected to start? This is a very important one, and I should remind everyone that we hope to give out the results around May and June, and you're expected to start around June and July. It is super important that this fellowship and the seat grants will be completed before July 2022. And that is all for the most common questions and answers. And just wanted to remind you that the slides, the recordings, and also the common Q&A will be posted on the ILO website afterwards. So we really thank you for your interest in the RTA fellowships and seat grants, and we are very excited to read your proposals. So do post your questions on chat box or raise your hand, and we'll open the floor for questions. But also Lorenzo and Callie, let us know if there's also anything else that you would like to add for the presentation.
I was a little bit reading. There are too many questions. So I was trying to read. I see that Kelly and you also have answered to some of them. But just to clarify, because I saw many of these, what should be in the 3 to 5 pages? The reference, budget, and work plan are an annex, so outside the 3 to 5 pages. Literature review, yes, is part of the research proposal, so is within the 3 to 5 pages. And then something on the salaries, Lorraine already said, also for the seed grant, budget also some of the time. And just to be, because there are also many questions on it. Fellowship and seed grant will have, is not only a different level of commitment, but also will have a different contractual arrangement. The fellowship, the contract will be between the ILO and the hosting institution. And then will be the hosting institution that will manage the budget according to certain criteria and deliverables as explained in the template is an implementation agreement. So show these are administrative rules to the institution or to the universities on the call for fellowship attached. While the grants, the seed grants, the contractual arrangement is an external collaborator contract. So will be directly a contract between the ILO and the selected candidate. To simplify and to simplify the life of both us and you, it will be a kind of consultancy contract. So that's why we said you can also count your time while conducting the research. One of the questions was, but I have already the data, I have to carry out the analysis, I have no budget. But of course, in these 9 months, you can work on it, we can work together, and so you will also have some time to put on it. And the other question I see have been already clarified by Lorraine. So I don't know whether you saw in the meantime any other question, or we just open the floor.
I think there seemed to be some common questions on the length of time, and some were if the research runs longer, and then others were if the research is shorter than that time period, can I still apply? So do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, if it's longer than the 12 months, we will not be there physically. We will be around there. We will not be there with the project to assist you. The fellowship, the idea is not only you will have a supervisor. This was another question. That yes, you have to look for a supervisor. If you are affiliated to a research institution, you have to be affiliated to a research institution. So you will not only have for that 12 months your supervisor, but you will have us, the 3 of us, to help you, and the 10 members of the scientific committee to guide you during these 12 periods. The idea is also to put the researcher in touch with some international experts, with the other with the vast research community, so that you can also improve and learn more. The same for those selected for the seed grants. We will be providing guidance, so not only the supervisor, we will expose the candidates to the wider research community. Our idea is also to have at the end, hopefully the pandemic allowing, let's see whether allow us next year, to invite the 3 fellows selected in Geneva to expose them a bit more to what we are doing within the project. They will be involved also in some project activities. And hopefully to have a final workshop where all the fellows and seed grant research can be presented. So this is our goal. So we will really stay with you in these periods. That's why we cannot go over July 2022.
But we can go under, right? So many
We
questions
can go under, yes.
shorter is it's okay. So if
go.
you can complete it in a shorter time than the months specified, that's okay.
But in theory, it should be 9 months worth of work and
Correct.
also 12 months worth of work. Yes. I actually saw a question on whether or not a research team can apply. And I just thought that I want to quickly clarify this. Yes, as a small team of junior researchers and that you have a supervisor to supervise you, you are eligible to apply for the seed grant. And this is also the purpose that we also want that you'll be able to exchange ideas. But the thing is, it would be one lump sum of money to be awarded to one seed grant project, which is 10,000 USD for 9 months. And you would need to split among you guys.
Or
Yes.
can be that the supervisor, which can be the applicant, but the team, there should be the junior researcher.
It seemed like there were also some questions on the nature of the supervisor. And so I believe, I mean, there are all kinds of different scenarios, I think I was seeing in the chat. So I mean, as Lorenzo was saying, you also have sort of a community of supervisors through our team and through the scientific committee. So there can be different scenarios. I mean, supervisors in like a different institution. You know, we have designed these grants to facilitate research for people who are postdocs, et cetera. So there can be different types of supervising relationships, but you know, if you address this in the proposal, I think there are different scenarios. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Lorraine or Lorenzo.
I guess one thing to add is that it is nice in a sense from the perspective of interdisciplinary research to have different supervisors and different perspective. But at the same time, I'm also just thinking practically, it might be really hard to do. Like it might be really hard for you to finalize that one publication at the end because everyone wants different things. So I guess this is something that is up to you.
But yeah, we're not too terribly strict about, you know, relationships with supervisors can mean a lot of things, be in a lot of different ways. And especially the question about being in different countries or regions. The RTA team itself, you can see we're all in different countries and regions and we're working together just fine. So yeah, so that's okay.
Yes. Actually, would anyone want to ask a question? Is there any hands raised?
Hear people's voices. If you'd like to, oh, I see a hand. Okay. There we go. Okay.
Hi, should I ask my question?
Yes, go ahead.
So I had a two-part question. You've already answered a bit of it, but I'll go ahead and ask it. So firstly, regarding the research proposal, it mentions in your website that it should be 3 to 5 pages, but is there any, are there any specifications of how we divide the various sections, like the methodology, the literature review within these 3 to 5 pages? Is anything supposed to have more weightage or take up more space, anything less? Would there be any possible format? The second part of my question is currently pertaining to COVID and archives all being shut. So I'm a PhD scholar right now based in Geneva, and my work is with the ILO archives. Unfortunately, all the archives are shut until May at the very least from my communications with the archivist, and not all the collections are digitized. So if this continues, are we supposed to, by the time we apply, have all our primary sources already collected? Or is there any way we can work around this? Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, we know the archives are closed. We are all at home, in fact. And well, this can be an issue, and maybe can be one of the obstacle or limitation, one of the issue, I mean, to clearly state in the proposal. This is what I'm going to use, but it's not currently available because of this situation. we hope that it will change soon. My impression is that by June should be better, at least in Switzerland. So just mention it in the proposal.
Yes, but I also just wanted to add a point, but then it would also be important for you to let us know what you will be able to deliver by July 2022, right? Like, what would you be able to do given your limitations based on the scholarly research that you can do? What can you deliver? That would be the most important for us.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just
So
the other thing about the format and, just with section, we have any idea of if any section should take up more space or weightage than the other in the proposal?
Not really. Usually what should take more space is the explanation of what you are going to do, how you are going to do. But then just follow, the tips, be clear, no need to be longer in the explanation, straight to the point. And avoid the pitfall, and then, Kelly is terrible. The pitfall.
No, yes, exactly. Well, I also was going to add many of the questions in the chat were on, wait, is the literature review part of this? Yeah, we're not looking for a book in like the literature review really is bare bone, like a simple, a statement of the problem, showing that you have some evidence behind investigating this problem, but yes, not a grand thesis. Don't worry, it's shorter than that.
So let me thank you, and let me unmute Sarah.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just have two questions. The first is about data. I currently have a lot of data regarding trafficking in my research in Italy. And the question that we had from my end was, could I use this in addition to the data that we would be collecting for this project if I was selected? Because there was something in the criteria about the data being available for the research community. And with my current data, I cannot make the raw data available. And so the question was, would it be possible to still use some of that information? Because I think it would be really beneficial. And the second question is about the output. If there is an article being written or a book or whatever form of output we decide to do, would that be something that we take or do the authorship for? Is it something we would do with the ILO? We just weren't sure what that would look like. Thank you.
Let's start from the last. So the research produced will be of the researcher. There is the acknowledgement, then there is a standard paragraph to be added. And then it depends how it goes. If at a certain point this become a collaborative effort, or it's just the effort of the researcher. So if at the effort of the researcher, the paper is of the researcher, done with the contribution, etc., etc. We will help also with the dissemination in a way. If it's worth to be published, we will also be publishing as a report. You can publish also in journal. Actually, we encourage to have a product that can be sent to a peer-reviewed journal.
Okay.
I lost the first part of the question.
Data.
Yeah.
So she has data on human trafficking collected for another project. And for the purpose of our project, do we need to make it available?
That's fine. That's fine. You are going to use data for your research. That's fine.
No, so do we need, does she need to publish it?
The data?
Yeah, I think that's the question, right?
Yes. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. The question is whether the data, because I saw at the end of one of the criteria pages that the data collected would need to be made available to the research community, but the existing data I have right now, I cannot.
Okay, if there is a particular restriction to the data, these are collected in Italy, you said, so I know the
Yes.
legislation there it works. Yeah, depending on the level of sensitivity, it cannot be done. So depending on the level of restriction, then we can see case by case.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So let me unmute Isidore.
It's still muted.
Isidore, please unmute your mic and you'll be able to ask your question. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's about today. Is it possible to accept when you have to look about primary data to use tablets because of the pandemic? That can allow us to actually to make distance, because I have make some investigation. I'm selected. I need to make to have some primary data, and I think the one way to keep the social distance is to use tablet. I don't know, is it allowed in the policy of this allowance to use tablets? That's my first question. The second is that's just about the supervisor. Is it able to work with a supervisor who never worked with research questions? That is my concern. Thank you.
Sorry, Isidore, we couldn't catch the second question. The first one is about tablet. And can you say the second one again quickly?
The second is about the supervisor of the thesis or the master's dissertation. Is it possible to you to work with a supervisor who never work with such subjects like child labor and whatever? That is my concern.
Well, if you work with someone that doesn't know the subject, then it will be difficult to supervise you. It would be better if, as the supervisor, have an idea, have conducted already similar research in similar fields. I mean, to be able to give you advice. And regarding the tablet, if I understand correctly, because I don't know if my connection was disappearing, is for doing some data collection, right? So this, I mean, yes, including the budget, then yeah, if it's part of the activity, yes.
Great.
But
So
mean that when you have, can I reply, please?
yeah, sorry. What do you say again?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I say
You're eligible to apply.
something?
Yes.
Asking about you have a supervisor who actually is in academic, but he never published in the area, but he is interested in your topic, and he have connection with another supervisor who already have published, but he's still taking a talk with him. That was my concern, to see either I can't have the support of the second supervisor because he never gives his last decision. Can I bring all two leave the project?
I think yes. You, I mean, apply, and then during the review process, we also see the supervisor. You will need a letter from the supervisor, so that we can understand better, of course, how is the situation. And then also what it counts is the proposal also. So we encourage you to apply.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. So let me unmute Prachi. And you should be able to unmute your mic and ask your question now.
I'm a final year PhD student, and I have a chapter on forced labor in agriculture. So I have collected some part of my raw data for this topic, and I wanted to know if I can apply for the seed grant for basically for completing this chapter and doing more visits in the field and analyzing that data and making that that chapter as the main output of my work with you, and then disseminating it through. And the second part of my question very quickly is that, do you encourage the dissemination process in local languages? I mean, like in case like I'm from India and the forced labor that I'm witnessing here is in different states here, and I wanted to sort of in local languages etc disseminate this thing. So, or is it that you want a like a major seminar conference type thing to be organized?
So the answer is first, yes to the first question, and yes to the second question, in the sense you will have your research done in English, so that can be shared with the international community of researchers. And then this is a brilliant idea, I think we wrote somewhere, to have also in the local language, to disseminate the research locally. Yes. And if you need, I mean, translation, this is also something you can budget.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So let me unmute Matthias. And you should be able to ask your question. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Firstly, thank you all for your presentations. They were really, really helpful. I would like to ask whether someone who's not currently enrolled in a PhD program, but who hold a master degree since 2019 and has been working with practitioners and policy making since then, would be eligible to apply once enrolling, once getting connected with a professor from an institution, in the case my former university.
Yes, because then it will be like an affiliation. Your supervisor will be at the university, right?
Yes, exactly. But currently I do not have any formal link with the university. It's simply a professor who I am in touch, who we share common visions and would like to work with, and from my former university.
Yes.
Yes, but also, are you applying for this fellowship or the seed grant?
Sorry, for the seed grants.
Ah, yes, that's fine.
Yes, 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 you can do it.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Great.
Your willingness to help.
Great. Thank you.
Let me unmute Fola. You should be able to ask your question now.
Hello, hi. Thank you very much for the great presentation. My question is with regards to one of the proposal research areas. I just wanted to know if it's possible, for instance, that the policy intervention on fighting against child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking, if the policy has to be focused on current victims or on former victims. That's the first part of the question. And then the second question is, for the research proposal, the reference part, which is like the bibliography, is it okay if it takes up a separate page, making it say 6 pages, or it must be embedded in all 5 pages? Thank you very much.
So no, bibliography is the references. Bibliography is separate, is out of the 3 to 5 pages. And the first question was whether it's a current victim or past victim. It can be, yes, current, past, as far as is something, research that help us to improve, to inform the policy. Also, many questions we got was on, do we need to do research on child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking, or one of the topic? Is one of the topic, 2 topic, 3? And also we gave an indication of research areas. There can be, if you have great ideas, can be also something different. This is really an indication coming from another exercise we are doing in developing a global research agenda. But of course, if there are great ideas, can be outside the sphere of the areas we identified.
Yeah, so we hope this is helpful. And also we are aware of time that we should be wrapping up. So I'm just thinking, if you have more questions, please send them to rtaproject@ilo.org, and we were happy to answer your questions. And we're also gonna post the slides, the recording, and also the common Q&A on the ILO website. So I guess we should be wrapping up, team. Anything else that we should add to this presentation?
No, from my side, just thank you very much. I'm sorry, I see there are still hands raised, but please email us. We will reply immediately. And thank you so much for staying with us. We're really looking forward to reading your proposals. So thanks from my side.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a great day, night. So yes, thank
exactly.
you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.